Yeah, and you shall forever be Xexeb.
Yeah, I like the name, trust me, but I go by Abbott now, and people like that seem to like that a lot better
Mm.
in the gaming world anyway.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, doing okay. Doing okay.
Good.
Trying to motivate to take my walk today. Um,
Oh, is it hot outside or cold? Which is it?
for us, it's okay. It was. I think it reached like. I think the high ended up being like almost 60.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, that's pretty comfortable. Go for it, Flav. You know, no one's gonna get your butt out of bed except you. So I support you, brother.
Yeah, it's you know, when I'm doing kind of my days in a row, it's easier.
Right.
But as soon as I miss a day, then it's
Yeah, that's the worst. It's when I used to be a gym rat when I was younger and doing boxing and wrestling.
mhm.
When I missed a day, it was like getting back in there was just pushing it. And then next to the bad '80s music and '90s music that they used to play in the gyms back then.
Okay.
Oh, it's colorful.
Yeah, it's not. It's doing something weird. I don't know what's up. Um,
Did you trim your beard, sir?
no,
No, you okay?
no,
Looks like it.
um, no. I mean, a while back, I just lined it up, but that
Oh,
was a
gotcha,
while. That was a while ago.
gotcha.
Um, what's the writing project you were talking about?
Oh, I wanted to do something that paid attention to my heritage, and
Hmm.
my heritage is unfortunately Spanish, which is not a good. I would say it's an invader heritage, right?
Okay.
So I have to take responsibility for it. So I thought to myself, what type of project could I do that centers it around Cuba that would be interesting for other people, and yet I could do a little bit of history with it, show a little bit of the factions involved in the thing. So I've decided to reset my Spanish Empire as vampires, literal vampires, and Christopher Columbus is an outlier, and in this setting. He's going to be basically slowly torn out from because that's what the Spanish did in real life. The Habsburgs, which were in charge of the Spanish Empire, slowly reduced his rights and rallied the people against him until he was
Okay.
thrown out of Cuba.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't a nice guy anyway. So I think I can portray both him and the Spanish as kind of evil, and I actually have a surprise good guy for in the Spanish Inquisition, because the religious background is decimated with the vampires. They have no religion. So I figured, what would the Spanish Inquisition people do after basically being unrooted from the royalty, which is their power base, and basically they become vampire slayers in the middle of the night, kind of thing, in
Okay.
throughout the colonies and the empire itself.
And what group is this that becomes the
The
Vampire
Spanish
Slayers?
Inquisition.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I thought that would be fascinating to kind of tell them as good guys. Yeah, well, good guys, sort of. They're fanatics. So, and I'm gonna totally bite into that.
Hmm.
Wait, so
Yeah,
hold on. I want to understand.
yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's it
How you
going?
doing, Sam?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So the Spanish Inquisition. Wait, the Spanish Inquisition, the people who were leading it would turn into vampire slayers?
No, yes, basically, but what happens is I've already stated that in my background writing that the vampires have a type of religion, but it only worships themselves. It's kind of like an Ayn Randian cult type of thing going on.
Okay.
But the Catholic Church is actually thrown out of Spain and all the Spanish territories. So
Right.
the people themselves are still Catholic nominally, but but they have to be quietly. It's kind of an underground thing. So I get to play with the idea of Christians as actual hunted minorities, and the people who do the Christian faith within the Spanish Empire are going to be the remnants of the church and the Spanish Inquisition together.
So they're going to be the heroes?
Yes.
The ones who were the Catholics in real life? Or
yes.
The ones who were forcing Jews and Muslims to convert to Catholicism?
Because basically they get kicked out of the empire, the empire's power structure. The only way, when I studied history, the only way that they had any sort of power in the real life was their attachment to the nobility. The nobility acted, and then they seized all the Jews and Moorish lands and property, and that was the turnaround for the nobility to support the Inquisition. And so I figured if they were thrown of the territory, they would become embittered towards the powers that be and view them as hell on earth, literally.
So you're basically using your knowledge of history to inform like a kind of like a parallel.
It's a parallel history. Yeah, it's a parallel history with supernatural elements in it.
Okay. Cool.
I feel like I'm not understanding this. I feel like it sounds to me like you're.
I'm turning an expectation on its head. We all know that the real Inquisition was terrible people. Right. We all know that's not. I'm not trying to defend them, but I wondered what would these terrible people do if put in a situation like this. And what they would do is they would go and become hill fighters, country people, within the colonies themselves.
In other words, what would have happened to them if they had been the victims, like rather than the perpetrators?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So I get to take some of the people who were prominent in the Spanish Inquisition and turn them on their head, make them run from the authorities, and because the authorities are all vampiric, and
I get it. This is going to be really controversial.
Yes, my mother already hates it. I already told her, and she goes, "Don't do that. Our people are going to hate it." And I went, "I know. That's going to be wonderful."
I think there's an element that I'm picking up on that. I think you kind of I don't want to say that you skipped over, Sam, but like when asking if the perpetrators are now the good guys and vice versa, it's I think it's more than that. I think it's an examination of what happens when the circumstances themselves change.
Mm-hmm.
And right. So in other words, it's like part of it's like the journey to get there, right? I think part of it is like, I think one thing that's controversial is people get stuck in these roles of good and bad, black and white, right?
Yeah.
Of good and evil, perpetrators versus victims, and kind of what he is really asserting is like we're all capable of good and evil.
Yes,
and
at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, and it's often, historical situations that put us into these roles, right? And so we've seen, like, in history where you do the jail experiment or something, and you reverse roles, and all of a sudden the jailers are acting horrible to people that were just them, and all those kind of things. So, yeah, definitely controversial, but
no,
interesting.
No, absolutely, for sure. I just missed the beginning of it, so I was trying to catch up, and I fully did not. That's the thing. No, I fully did not quite understand where you were going with this. So I was just asking questions to try and figure it out.
So my Spanish vampiric empire, they are all old. They are all ancient. What happens is that the initial the first bloodline of the royal family is kept human until they breed and create the next generations of basically vampiric Habsburgs to be, and then they get inducted into the vampiric side of the family, which is old, which is like 300 years old.
Yeah, this is cool. I definitely want to read this. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favorite TV show ever, so I'm all about vampire fiction. Like, I'm definitely. I would love to. I'd love to. I
think it's cool. Now, I was advised not to sell it as vampiric fiction, to sell it more as alternate history, alternate Latin American history. And I went. Okay, I can do that.
What was the reason for that?
Because vampires was very 90s, 80s. And a lot of publishers have been burned by supporting new artists that wanted to do a vampire story. So my story really doesn't revolve around the although I have to detail them a lot. And one of my main characters is going to be in the vampire ranks to kind of show what's going on in the big empire kind of thing. And he's going to be based in Madrid in the royal court.
It's not what makes your. It's not what drives your story or what makes it interesting.
No. And I think that the showing kind of the cruelty of each side, that there is a power player in this kind of new vampiric kingdom is the real joy of the book. That each side is bad. One of the sides is going to be Christopher Columbus and his Genovese allies from Italy, who are slowly being forced out by the vampiric, which happened in the real world. I think I explained that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it happened in the real world, and I think it would be interesting to see that power struggle between the vampiric and the mortal kind of bad guys as well is in the background.
Right, but in the real world, people had a hard time admitting that vampires were real.
Yes. And basically, I have an event that happens with one of the kings where he just announced the vampiric court to the world and booted out the Catholic Church out of all provinces of Spain and Portugal. And Portugal is a minor kingdom, but they're totally allied to Spain. So they have their own mini vampiric court with the same process going on.
Now, is it the flying that made it difficult for people to believe in vampires, or what?
That's a good question. In the real world, we basically science killed the vampire. I think the vampiric myths. Because we associated it with tuberculosis, and that was pretty hardcore up until the 18th century. But at the 19th century, when they started to make effective medicines against tuberculosis, I think science itself, medical science, was the culprit of the vampiric myth kind of going away until popular media started around the time of Bram Stoker.
Okay.
That's my impersonal review of vampiric folklore. Is that it was very popular because of diseases and that people blamed for vampiric activity.
Okay.
Oh, give me a moment, guys. I need to go grab a yogurt or something. I have low blood sugar.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think he was. I was trying to like mess around and like pretend like that he was saying vampires were real, but I don't think he picked up on that.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
Probably just as well.
It was very subtle. I mean, it was like really, you were just like, yeah. It was funny. That was really funny. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you? Your mom's all moved in?
No.
No.
All her stuff is moved, but there's like a lot of boxes, and so she's staying. She's like, she's staying somewhere else for the time being.
Okay.
But we're helping her. like it's a group effort to unpack because there's so much.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's all.
She's got her own place.
She will have her own place. Yeah. She's staying. Yeah. She's staying with family right now, but she'll have her own place. Yeah.
I have a friend who's supposed to be moving in. I've been keeping it a secret, but they've taken like basically a couple more months to move in than I thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think on April Fool's Day, we're either gonna spill the secret or not.
Do we know this person, Flav?
Well, that's all I can say.
Okay. Good point.
Until April 1st, but
that'll be.
I will reveal more.
Okay.
Reveal more on April 1st.
Alrighty.
Excellent.
I think we ought to talk about the rash of attacks on Asian Americans, guys, on the record. It's horrific, but somebody needs to address it.
Yeah, we spoke. KD and I spoke about it the other day, but I'm down to speak about it again. Especially
with the killing that just happened. The spree killing that apparently the guy was sick, but I don't like calling it sick because you have to be sick in order to murder 8 people. I mean, it's almost like a given. You're either sociopathic or psychopathic.
Yeah, I mean, yes. There's just no. I mean, there's no getting around that, or that he's just a bad person. It's either one.
I don't think this was motivated by political stuff, though. Everything I've seen is that he was just a very ill man. But that needs to be addressed too. We need a national healthcare system, and it needs to have a very strong mental health component. I think this is more proof of that.
Well, I mean, I don't think we can jump to the conclusion that if something is not mentally, if something's not mental, it's political, right? Like,
well, you're right.
You can be a bad person. You can be a bad person, or you can
just take the opportunity.
You can be an aggressor without politics having anything to do with it. And also, I would really stray away from mixing politics with racial hatred or anything like that. I don't think that's what politics means. I think we're just kind of throwing terms around, you can hate a race of people and be very non-political. You can be like, I don't vote or give a shit about who the president is. I just hate this group of people.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what politics.
The guy, I agree with stressing and centering mental health as in terms of health insurance, and that's an important part of what needs to be covered, and not just physical ailments. I also think that if you've gotten to the point where you're murdering 8 people, I'm not really sure how much help you can get. I think that's
too late.
Past the point where that's I feel like if you just did that, I think that you're past the point.
But imagine if this person had help all along.
Prior to
the. I'm not saying that unfortunately that this man can be redeemed, because I'm sure he can be redeemed in a way, but it's not helpful to the 8 people that he just murdered,
right?
Or she. Let's be fair. There could be plenty of murderers of either gender.
Yeah, but
or non-gender.
It was a he in this case.
It was a he, and it tends to be he's very often.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I feel that if we had a system that had covered this person from many years, I mean, we wouldn't have had those 8 people would still be alive. I'm almost convinced of that, because
but based on what?
Because mental health is a process. It's not an instant fix.
But how do we know? How do we know it has anything to do with mental health?
Well, we don't at this moment until more information comes out. But I'm assuming it's going to be a mental health issue. If there's only three remaining things. There's mental health. There's political divide, or there's raw anger, like the moment, spur of the moment, like road rage type of situations, where people kill other people.
Wait, so what's been ruled out?
I don't know. Give me some stuff to add in there.
No. You said there's three things left. I thought you meant.
I said there's three things left in my mind. I'm sorry. I forgot to add it. Maybe others have other things to add, but I just those are the three possibilities.
I would say that that's very narrow. I think a big problem with this discussion is just the lack of knowledge in general.
Yeah.
Myself included, but everyone's got their ideas, and there's not like I know there's got to be like. Isn't there like a national book on this stuff? There's a book with some letters that they use if we're talking about mental health. But I mean, if not, it could be a lot of things. I mean, I think your wheelhouse is political, so you keep bringing up political. But that to me is like. I don't really understand why it has to be political. Like it could be, but
it doesn't have to be. I fully admit that.
It could be political as much as it could be financial.
Yes.
It could be personal. I mean, it could be one of 100 or 1,000 things. So I think that's part of the problem is like, no one really understands this stuff. We all have assumptions. And we all just like throw these terms around as if we really know what we're talking about. We don't know what mental health really dictates or what it means. A lot of people assume like when something horrible happens, oh, that person must have been sick. Like even that term, like we don't know what that means. I mean, the only thing that I know from people who do have experience in the healthcare, in the mental health arena is that people who suffer from mental health issues are much more or many times more at risk of hurting themselves than someone else. That's what I do. That's what I do know for sure as a knowledge-based
or being victims too.
Right.
And furthermore, I also think that when people say things like that, and we're all, I think, and I'm not excluding myself. I mean, when we say things like that as a response to it, I think it's really just addressing our own need to feel like we understand why.
Yeah,
because
sure.
We need, because we as human beings, it's just like lack of knowledge is like that's like the great fear. Like it's the not
feeling
knowing.
Powerless. Yeah.
So we need to exactly. So we need to like put it in a box so we can like feel comfortable. So we can feel comfortable.
And I think that the mind seeks to address chaotic information and organize it naturally. I think that's something that helped us in the hunter-gatherer stage, and we've kept it to this day. We seek to categorize and organize our information so that it makes sense to us. And
but not in a helpful way that's knowledge based. It's just kind of like a sitting around the barbershop shooting the shit, like acting like we really know what's going on kind of way.
I mean, I think it depends on the circumstance, but in this case,
I mean, we all watch Oprah. Right, like we all watch these shows, and we think like, we think we know. We think,
and I think, and I think actually, what's so distressing to me is that so many people in the media are already like hopping on the trains where they've already decided whether it's about race or not, like automatically.
Right.
And
I mean, God, if I
he was
were
going to go into
betting,
Florida too. He was going to go down to Florida and do more. And who knows where he was going to go after that if he hadn't, gotten caught.
Right. Well, how many places did he hit?
3.
Okay, so if I was a betting person, and someone had hit a bunch of Eastern Asian places, had like hurt a bunch of Eastern Asian people, by hitting 3 different places, I would say, there might be a good chance that this was racially motivated, right?
Yeah. Yes, but they were also they were just spas, right? They were all just spa. There were 3 different spas. But yeah,
right. But my point being, like, he could have hit anything, right? Like,
bingo parlors or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Like, there's no evidence, until there's evidence to show that it was random. And it was like, oh, they're all going to be, these spas that I'm going to hit. Until there's evidence of that, I would say if I was a betting person now, yeah, of course I could be wrong, but it's like, had he hit one place and hurt like 8 people, you could be like, maybe it was random and this is where it happened to be. And there were a lot of people of the same race in one area. Once you hit 3 people, now we're kind of like changing the probability a little bit of it being random.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it can't be, but
Yeah. I mean, he targeted certain businesses. And they were trying to paint it off as like a sex addiction or some sort of like obsession with immorality or something like that, because they were all massage parlors. And and again, there's the assumption that like all massage parlors, like there's prostitution going on in the back of them. And so there I don't know how there could be an element in that too, but it's really, however, but I agree with you. The nature of who owns the businesses just makes it seem all the more likely that there was that involved too.
So is that the deal that they were all massage parlors?
They were all massage parlors.
And have they found out any information if he's like specifically frequented any of these specific places, or?
I think he's reading information as we speak, right?
I am, and I don't recall that. I don't recall.
I don't recall that either in the news.
I don't recall.
There hasn't been a lot released on the man himself.
Yes.
Yeah. And then of course there's always speaking of racial components, there's always the way that people of different races are reported on when they are, perpetrators or alleged perpetrators. Right? Yeah. There's like a difference in the amount of grace that people are given and the amount of like respect they're spoken to or they're spoken about.
You could tell all the difference in how they are arrested. If they are arrested forcibly with guns drawn, then they're probably a minority like one of us in the channel. If they are tackled and use non-lethal methods, then they're probably white Americans.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It's awful. It's ugly, but it's true.
Well, and then sometimes they take you to McDonald's or Burger King.
That was ridiculous. That was absolutely those officers should have lost their job.
That was like basically, they were practically patting him on the back.
Yeah.
That was nauseating. Yeah. So. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we should move on from this subject because unfortunately we don't have enough information yet.
Well, actually, apparently Wikipedia is not the Bible, but According to some of the information that was collected, there's a source here from a Korean newspaper, and it states that apparently as he was on his way out the door, someone heard, according to this, someone heard him say he was going to kill all Asians. So that, you know, I mean, I feel like that's enough right there. On the other hand, that's the only source it's from, and I don't, you know, I can't read the language, and I can't translate it. So I'm assuming this is the truth, and so yes, I remember hearing that. Does make you know, thank God that person was alive to tell someone that. It's a miracle that person wasn't killed.
Themselves, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the victims were 6 Asian women, 1 white woman, and one white man. I think that all things considered, I mean, whatever the weird twisted sex obsession was, there's probably that there is there too, but there's just, I mean, it's just been an insane amount of anti-Asian hate crimes. The rate has skyrocketed since COVID.
And you can't divorce that from the political nature, because you can't. I'm sorry, Flav, but
I mean, in this instance, okay.
Not in this particular instance, but in general, the Asian hatred is politically motivated because one of the leaders of a large group of people is instigating lies and propaganda against.
I agree with you in principle with what you're saying. It's just the way that you were saying it before. You just kept saying like it was political. I understand that, you know, politically speaking, you know, we had leaders or lack of leaders that were like stoking the fires of hate with their speech.
Yeah.
So I think it's all in the way that you deliver it. It's just like if you're in a courtroom and you're trying to like indict someone on some kind of like political speech, you're gonna have a difficult time if you just like keep generally using the word political without like really defining like what you mean, right? That's okay. I just had a problem with the way that you were right. stating it. You just weren't making it clear what you meant.
Okay.
Right? Like to me, like these people are, you know, this person probably gives a shit about politics. It's some like racist, right? That's all it is. Now, someone like a Donald Trump, you know, elephant in the room, those people can use their political positions to fan the flames of hate and get what they want. So for certain, those people should be, you know, in trouble for using politics to influence hate. But like the person that did this, like, you know, I doubt you're gonna go on their Facebook and you're gonna find this or find that. I mean, you might, but it's just general old-fashioned hatred. It doesn't have to mean he was like, you know, he was subscribing to, you know, some political rags or this or that. Like, it doesn't have to be any of that. That's just like good old-fashioned ignorant hate.
Yeah, but people profiteer from hate, Flav.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying at the point of violence that was incurred by this person, it has nothing to do with who's like profiteering. Like this person committed those heinous acts, right? If you go like trying to like smush him in with some kind of political shit, you're gonna lose your case.
I'm not. I was just stating my belief in the beginning.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like we had assholes who like stirred people up and kept using the words China virus and all that stuff. Yeah. And like, yeah, they put us, they encouraged, you know, these hate crimes to spike, and people who don't know any better, you know, like fell for it.
My dad himself who's a fairly learned man and has been around the world pretty much. He believes that the virus started in Asia as a rogue experiment in one of the labs, and he's convinced. I can't even broach the subject with him because he gets upset.
I totally empathize. I mean, without going too into details, one of the last conversations I had with a family member was, let's not talk about this in terms of where you think the virus came from. No one actually knows scientifically. I'm telling you that this is going to be used as an excuse to like stir up hate in this country. And then sure enough, a couple weeks later, like this is where we are. So yeah, that stuff is real.
Yeah.
But I mean, I actually, you know, I can say that I believe that that's where, I mean, based on everything that's been reported, it does seem reasonable for me to believe that that is where it came from. I think the problem is that that itself was an opportunity for people like Trump and others to politicize it and to rile people up. Right. You know, I mean, the problem with that is that just because you run that risk of there being racist jerks out there, I don't think that means that we should not, like, especially something like this, which has wreaked havoc on the world, like where it comes from and why, because it is important to know that.
Okay, but I mean, first of all, we haven't done that. We have we had some of the most ignorant assholes running our country, like in the history of ignorant assholes running countries. Yeah. Like literally.
Okay, but they're not the ones who like made the discovery and you know, shared that news with the world. It came from like
they're not the ones who made the discovery.
Organizations and stuff like that.
They're not the ones who made the discovery, but they were the ones who tried to shut down the World Health Organization and the CDC and Dr. Fauci and any intelligent person that had anything to do with the administration. They certainly were. First of all, there is evidence that shows that it did not come from China, that like they're saying it actually came from like Europe or Italy or something.
No, I don't believe that.
What
I believe is that the strain of it that came to America may have come from there, but that's not where the original strain came from.
Okay, well, I mean, now we're talking about beliefs and stuff like that, and that's cool, but like the average person is not like digging into this stuff or like doing their due diligence. They're listening to like a monster who keeps, you know, using unscientific terms like China virus, which
that's fine, but that's not
the way.
You know.
Well, no, you're not. I mean,
and I know you're not calling me that. I know you're not calling me that.
If you were the one that had to live in this country when this happened, we'd be in a totally different position.
No, I know. Oh, all right.
I probably would have voted.
I know.
I probably would have voted for you, by the way.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know you're not calling me that. It's just that, like, you know, I know that you're not calling me that, but you know, from well before it got here, reports were that that's where it had originated from. People were talking about the fact that it was over there and that it was just, and that there were concerns.
Yes, but the reports that people are using to fan the flames of hate include a bunch of added stuff about all types of conspiracies and like not wanting people to know.
It sort of builds on each other. The misinformation, because
it starts to build the truth.
Yeah,
you hide a lie between some truths, for sure.
Okay.
Listen, these guys are good at what they're doing. This like playbook, you know, this playbook that this guy used to like screw the country. These people have been in there for decades.
And we're so lucky. Oh, we're less than a minute. We're gonna have to reform.
Have to go back.
I want to talk about the Trumpian organization forming a social media group too. That's big news.
Yeah, you guys want to get in on that?
Sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me go to the new place.
Okay. Woo. It's good to see you all.
Yeah,
it is good to see you all.
Yeah, it really is. It's been a minute. All right. Yeah.
All right, let's get out and we'll rejoin.
Okay, cool.